Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan. Welcome back, good to see you. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on the channel at all. You know, usually when I take a hiatus, I'm like Tony Stark. You know, my hiatus isn't like other people's hiatuses. Usually I'm still showing up for occasional streams and doing unscheduled stuff, but not the last 2 weeks. I've been really busy with vacations and birthday parties. I have 6 kids, for those of you that don't know, and 3 of them have their birthday in the same week because I have twins, and their birthday is 2 days away from their youngest older brother, Mikey, and so we had a big birthday party for them this weekend. We had a lot of family out. We had a really good time. It was Ninja Turtles themed, and I went kind of all out for that. Decorated, like, I probably went overboard with all the Ninja Turtle stuff, but some of you guys probably know I have a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff. And so it was a lot of fun. But now I'm back. I'm ready to get nose to the grindstone, do lots of streaming for you. And my hope is to start doing a little bit more in the way of solo streams or at least like unplanned things that you might not expect, but just stream an hour or two most evenings, at least 5 days a week if I can get away with it. That's my plan right now. People were a little bit worried when I suggested that about my getting burned out. If that starts to happen, yeah, I'm very busy. I'll pull it back a little bit, but I want to do more stuff like this. So tonight we're going to get back into the top 100 DC and Marvel characters according to a Comic Book Resources article with a poll that they did just last year, 2023. If you missed the first part, go back and check that out. I talked about just the DC list. I was going to do all of that in one video, and, you know, I could be a little bit long-winded, and it took a bit just to get through the DC ones. So tonight we're going to do Marvel, and I don't know if it'll be the same length, you know, as long as last stream. It might be a little shorter. We'll find out. But did 50 DC last time, 50 Marvel this time. Just to recap, the way Comic Book Resources handled this is they pulled 1,000, a little bit more than 1,000 of their readers, and people suggested their favorite, from least to most favorite, characters through all of DC and Marvel. So 50 of DC and 50 of Marvel. So this isn't all mixed in the 100 best characters, even though that's what the title would maybe lead you to believe. They split it up 50-50. So it will be just 50 more this time of Marvel characters. And what we learned last time, because I'm still wondering what the sample set was. I'm still wondering what the majority of the demographic was. If it was kind of older comic book readers or middle aged guys. How much of a younger audience was in there. And so what we discovered last time is that of Comic Book Resources readers that participated in this, there were a lot of Green Lantern fans, and there were a lot of fans of scantily-clad sexy women, because there's a lot of that in there, and some of them is pretty clear that that was the reason that they were voted for. I did appreciate the Birds of Prey love, regardless of why some of those characters wound up in there. But I suspect, voluptuous, attractive women had a lot to do with it. Maybe I should be that surprised by that in, the comic book circles, again, especially depending on, the age group. And then there was also a heavy amount of Teen Titans, and it became pretty clear with stuff like Lobo, Hawkman was in there. It became pretty clear that there were actually a lot of straight-up comic readers and not just people that were into superheroes because of extra media. And I'm wondering if the same will be true of Marvel, or if it skews more toward the characters that were made popular by the movies. And of course, there would be a lot of overlap even if it was people just voting because of comic characters. And obviously, you like what you like, and you're influenced, however you're influenced. So even if you're thinking like, oh, I'm just going to vote for the things that I love in comics, you can't help but be influenced to some degree by, especially with MCU, but even X-Men movies and stuff, by extra media things. Like, how would you know for sure that you weren't swayed that way? And Marvel has had a better track record overall with a lot of different characters just throughout, forget however you might feel about MCU right now, with with its movies than DC has overall. So DC has had some good Batman movies, a couple of good Superman movies, but overall, and a lot of their best movies have been more, I don't want to say underground things, but less of the big mainstream, like Trinity characters and Justice League type characters. And so Marvel, I am guessing, is going to be somewhat more influenced by movies, and we're going to see more of those kinds of characters there. And I also predict that this will be a little more mainstream looking than DC was. Like, I kind of doubt with Marvel that you'll see as many kind of surprises and off the beaten path things like we did with DC. But who knows? Anything is possible. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. Again, if you're curious about the DC list and you didn't see that video, you can go back and check that out later, or you can just look at the article, which is, I think the link is in the description. If not, you just look up Comic Book Resources, and it's the 2023 top DC and Marvel characters. I have not looked at this list at all. I don't know what's going to come up, so I'm going to be surprised right along with you guys. Well, we'll see just how surprised we are. Welcome, everybody, in the chat. I started real late tonight, and a lot of my solo streams are probably going to be, after 10:30. Tonight I had to start as late as 11:30, but we still got a good crowd here. Really nice of you guys to stay up with me and hang out. So without further ado, we'll start getting into this. Again, welcome everybody there in the comments. I see Hayden, Stone Gaspin, Austin is there. Hi, Austin. Dan's Den, Braden Atkinson. Lots of folks here. Josh. Hi, Josh. Good to see you guys. Okay. Let's get right into it, shall we? So, this is the tail end of the DC list. We're going to see that for a little while as we go down, because I'm just going to keep inching like I did last time. So again, to recap, with DC, your top 10 was pretty clear mainstream. There were a couple of kind of surprises with that. Like, I didn't expect both Flashes necessarily to be there. Oracle was much higher than I thought she'd be, and that was really exciting. But let's go ahead and get into the Marvel side of it, shall we? Are we going to find out that Avi Arad was right and Venom really is Marvel's most popular character? The way the movies have gone, you would certainly think that. But of course, this is just a sample set of 1,000 guys that mostly probably actually read comics. So we'll see. Is he going to be in the top 10? I'm curious to find that out. Here we go. Here's Marvel. Here it is. Number 50 is in fact Venom. Okay. I didn't do that on purpose. That's shockingly low. Honestly, that really makes me wonder what the rest of this is going to look like. And I start going like, some of the things, because you might not agree with Avi Arad that Venom was ever, as insanely popular as a lot of the big wigs at Marvel seem to think he is, and he's certainly gotten bigger, in the last several years, I think, or maybe it's wended back around to what it was in the 90s. But like, is Nova gonna be on this list? Like, I'm thinking of characters that even I'm not gonna buy are more popular than Venom. Shocking. That also maybe leads you to believe, though, that there's more like honest-to-God comic readers, because maybe there's a little bit of pushback where it's like, nah, you can't say Venom. It's not cool to say Venom. And if you were just a comic reader, you would, or sorry, if you were just a movie watcher, you would probably, put Venom on that list. Makura says, as long as Carnage is not on this list, we're good. That's a good point, but I don't see a top 50 list without more Carnage. Having said that, though, one of the things that was weird about DC was the, weird, shockingly low amount of villains, because this list isn't just superheroes like I initially thought it would be. Like I said before, that's probably how I would have done this. Maybe do, 50 superheroes and then come back and do supervillains. But instead, it's everybody. So anything is fair game. Aunt May could be on this list. Mary Jane could be on this list. And we only had, 7, 8 villains total with DC, and very few Batman villains. It was like Joker, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy for some reason. Again, voluptuousness. I don't know, you be the judge. Okay, moving right along. 49. Mary Jane Watson is on this list. Mary Jane beat out Venom, which is interesting because there is some... Wow, this is skewing in a really interesting direction. First of all, I'll say the bottom two of these so far have been Spider-Man characters. So how's that trend going to go? How much of this is just Spider-Man? Because remember, we've got so many corners of the Marvel Universe. And yeah, DC's got a lot of corners too, but it tends to be really, really Batman heavy for what's very popular, and I thought more of that was going to take up that list. You go over to Marvel, and it's like, well, you got X-Men, and that could be 50 easily all by itself, and you've got Avengers, and that could easily be 50 all by itself, et cetera, et cetera. And so, arguably with DC, you've got the few characters that are really, really popular, that are almost undisputably the best, most popular, not best, but like the most well-liked characters. And then you have these little pockets where you've got your legion of superheroes fans, but there's not anything like as many of those as there is Teen Titans and some other things. And then you get over to Marvel, and X-Men is huge, and Avengers these days huge. Spider-Man is huge, and whole pockets, not just singular characters. Flash has a decent rogues gallery, but he's one character. And yeah, Marvel has some singular characters that are popular too, but it's arguably more about the teams than DC is, right? Maybe as far as like rampant popularity, I would say. So yeah, I have no idea how this is going to go. But I also was going to say with Mary Jane, there's a divided base with her, and more so these days than I think maybe there used to be. Although maybe it's come back around with her because there's a lot of people, despite how popular Dan Slott's run and Spider-Verse and all of that stuff has been, that really missed the marriage and have been wanting to see that come back. And with the new Ultimate line, which I've only read the first issue of Spider-Man, but I adored it. I need to get back to that and catch up at some point. But with that, there's been... Well, and then you even had, like, a few years ago, what was it, Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, or Peter Loves Mary Jane, or whatever that book was. Like, every now and again, we really throw the fans a bone with that. So maybe I shouldn't be that surprised that she's on this list. And I wouldn't expect her to be much higher if she was. Wood Grain Beanie, $5 Super Chat. My DC list was kind of tough, but I think making a Marvel list will be much easier. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I wonder how much... like which of them would be easier for me. I want to do this list myself. I'm going to do a third part to this. I'm glad you brought this up, and I don't know how soon, because I'm going to have to wait for results to come in. I wanted to do this second part before I put up a post about this, and partly because I just haven't decided how exactly I'm going to do it yet, but let me just put a pin in this and say I want us to do this too. I suggested this on the last show, and I've decided for sure we're going to do it now, where I'm going to poll our audience and see how many of you guys, I'm hoping we can get a good 100, see how many of you guys I can get to do this assignment. Give me your top 50 DC characters, not just superheroes, not just villains, anybody you want to, and top 50 Marvel, and we'll assign points like this did. And the more I thought about it, and I got a comment from a Bag that suggested this, and I think he was right. On the spot, I wasn't thinking about it right, but I think the way they probably did it was your bottom on your list gets the top point value, and your top gets the bottom, right? So I don't know if I said that right. It's late, but like if you assign something. The 50 spot, that would get 1 point. And if you assign it the number 1 point, that would get 50 points. They probably did it something like that, and that's probably how I'll do it. But anyway, let's go ahead and keep moseying through this, and I will put up a post sometime this week in the next couple of days probably, and try to get you guys to do that. What I'm trying to decide is where I'm going to have you send those results, because I don't want everybody to see, or nominations, because I don't want everybody to see them, but I'm a little bit worried if I just do it as an email, I'm not going to get as many people to send it. So I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put that. We'll do that soon. Number 48. Stone Gassman says, slightly disappointed Catwoman isn't in the top 11. I guess she was maybe a little lower than I expected, too. 48 is Hawkeye, but the Kate Bishop version, that's interesting. She is really, really well-liked these days, and right away, and I'm going to be a broken record with this, I can't help but wonder if the Disney Plus show has anything to do with that, but it may not. That was a really popular comic series, and put that character on the map in a big way and made her arguably more popular than some of the newer female superheroes that Marvel's been pushing really hard, in my opinion, trying to make us think are more popular than they really are. Like Miss Marvel, like I think she had, and in Captain Marvel, to some degree, like I think Miss Marvel had her big moment, and then she was pushed on everybody real hard. And I'm not sure that as many people care about that character as Marvel thinks they do. I'm not saying that she doesn't have a fan base, and I'm not saying that she isn't popular. I don't think she's as popular as they think she is, or as they want us to think that she is, to try to keep selling that character. And there's a few characters like that, but Kate Bishop showing up here makes me think that maybe she doesn't have that as much. I don't know. That's really interesting. So how modern does this get? 47 is Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, right under Kate Bishop. So we're getting, modern, popular female Marvel characters right next to each other. And again, I'm going to keep saying, like, you be the judge about how much of that has to do with the sexy chick factor. But with those two characters in particular, I kind of don't think it necessarily does. Spider-Gwen is a character that I thought for a while Marvel was trying to make us think was more popular than she was, where she had that big moment, and then they kept really pushing her on people. And then that's come back around because of extra media. And she's gotten more popular because of Spider-Verse, and with little kids, with Spidey and his amazing friends. I just gave my daughters over the weekend for their birthday, one of the things they got were plushes of Miles Morales and Ghost Spider, Spider-Gwen from that show, because they loved that. So she's coming back around again, certainly. Okay, moving right along, 46. And I'll also say if those two were going to be on the list, that seems like about the right spot for them. 46 is Loki. Again, more than Venom at this point. So his even showing up on the list is MCU motivated to some degree. However you want to slice that, like he's maybe bigger in comics than he was for a long time. Also, because he's in movies, maybe. But I mean, it's been a while since I've really kept up with much. But that could have something to do with it if this is more based on people's comic reading. But obviously, like, Loki is a major important villain and was well liked by Thor fans, but before MCU. But I'm telling you, you go back and you do this poll in 1993, Loki does not make this list. Number 45 is Falcon, Winter Soldier, pardon me, Sam Wilson. That was a Freudian slip because I was trying to say Sam Wilson, and I wound up with, not to be confused with Wade Wilson, not to be confused with Slade Wilson. Anyway, again, would Falcon have made this list if it weren't for MCU? He's been a little bit bigger in comics lately, but I mean, a lot bigger a few years ago when we had Old Man Cap and he took over for Captain America, like he's doing in the movies now. By the way, real quick, I'll say, because I haven't been able to do a Captain Logan show in the last couple of weeks, the trailer for Brave New World surprised me. And I hope to God that that movie is even half as good as it looks, because that is the first trailer that's really wowed me from MCU in a long time. And there are certainly lots of things that could go wrong, and it's crazy that it's coming out a year later than it was supposed to, and that they basically, as far as I understand it, kind of reshot most of kind of the whole thing. But I really like the way that trailer is edited, and the whole like flashing black and white thing is really neat, and like it's nice and stylish, and it looks like kind of a serious movie again. And I like how I'll probably say all this on Thursday on the Captain Logan show again too, but I just want to mention it now that Falcon came out because it's nice to see another Captain America movie that looks espionage thriller again. And I know it's the guys that wrote Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I didn't like at all by the end. and I'm concerned about that, certainly, and that was also espionage again, and really wanted to be Winter Soldier and did not live up to that at all. But at the very least, I gotta say, they cut a compelling trailer. Harrison Ford looks great. I mean, there's a couple lines in that trailer where it doesn't seem like he really knows what he's saying, so, you know, there's that. But he's really right for the place they're taking Thunderbolt Ross right now, and it just reminded me how much I used to love Falcon. Like, he was my favorite MCU character, or he was turning into that by you know, with Winter Soldier and after that with Civil War and everything. So now I'm going, okay, I mean, there's hope, like, there's potential, and even if it's terrible, they I don't know, they figured out their marketing again, at least with that movie. Okay, so, I don't know, quick spiel about that. Robert, $2 Super Chat, I think movies will affect this list more than DC. Yeah, I said the same thing. It certainly has to, right? Robert also, with the $2 Super Chat, thank you for the support tonight, guys. Bet the top 5 is Cap, Hulk, Iron Man, Wolverine, and Spider-Man. Everybody weigh in and tell us if you agree with that list or if there's somebody else that you think will be in the top 5. Apologies if I'm a little bit rambling tonight. I'm really excited to be back on stream. Let's see. Wood Grain Beanie, I already did his super chat. Yeah, let me think about that for a second. Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Wolverine, Spider-Man. Is it possible that another X-Men character could show up there in the top 5? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, no, that sounds about right to me. Like, Wolverine has to be in the top 5. I think it's possible that Hulk is your wild card there, that he winds up like 6 or 7 and somebody else is in there. Like, Iron Man these days has to be there. He could be 2 or 3. Spider-Man's number 1 without question, just like Batman was with DC. I'll be shocked if that's not the case. Are there any villains that could wind up there? Also, well, we'll keep noodling it as we go. Number 44. Apologies, I'm showing you the next 2 already. But 44. I need to inch down on my keyboard, not my mouse. Is Human Torch, and 43 is Rocket Raccoon. Neither of those are especially surprising, although that makes me wonder how much of the Fantastic Four makes it here. Again, that's the thing with teams, is that you have kind of your big fan favorites with teams. Tell me if you guys disagree with this. Like, I'm just kind of saying what's coming to mind with this. Maybe I'm wrong, but with DC, it seems like you've got your couple of fan favorites on each team, but with Marvel, I think there's a lot less agreement on who the best, most popular characters are in particular teams. Everybody's got their favorite X-Men, and with the exception of Wolverine and these days Deadpool, I guess, you know, no 4 people are going to agree on the same character as their favorite of those. So yeah, how much of the FF makes it here? Like, if only one other Fantastic Four character was on this list, is it Mr. Fantastic? Probably. Over, well, no, actually, I would say the Thing over Mr. Fantastic, probably. And then these days, you know, again, Rocket would not be on this list 11 years ago. He's there because those movies made him so popular, but certainly deserving of that, and I love that character too. Is he more popular than Venom these days? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Like, everything, I'm looking at this, I'm going, is that more popular than Venom? Is that more popular than Venom? Mary Jane certainly isn't more popular than Venom. Crazy. All right, 42 is Beast. And that is our first X-Man. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Beast maybe beat some other characters out, but I'm going to have to see what the rest of the X-Men characters that wind up on this are. I think you also have less of a shot, maybe, for very many villains on this list because of how many, like, A-list team superheroes there are with Marvel, arguably compared to DC. And DC already didn't have all that many villains. So, like, does Thanos make this list? Does Galactus make this list? I would be shocked if Doctor Doom wasn't here. Like, who are the villains? We've only had one so far with Loki. And, well, Venom. But Venom is an anti-hero as much as a villain these days. And that has a lot to do with his popularity. So, you know, it's got to be Doctor Doom. it's got to be Magneto. Like, those are the two big ones that I would be surprised to not see. And then, for Spider-Man villains, it's kind of like the Batman thing, where there's a lot you would expect to be here, but when you only have 50, which ones will it be? So it's weird to think, Doc Ock might not be on this list, but you've only got 50. And you've already got Venom here, so maybe not. What about Kingpin? What about, you're almost certainly not going to see Bullseye now. Yeah, I'm just thinking of different villains from different rogues galleries. So yeah, Beast. Once again, I'm thinking about demographic, and I'm like, is that because of the cartoon? Like, probably more than anything. Like, I think that's a lot of people's favorite version of that character. That's a place where I'm not sure the movies have as much influence, because, like, yeah, he's in the movies, but I don't know if First Class or X-Men 3 before it, especially that movie, necessarily made anybody a Beast fan that wasn't already. I wonder about that. 41 is X-23. Oh, that's weird. Wolverine / Talon / X-23. Could we, like, strike that and reverse it? Like, there's, I don't want to say that's like a politically correct thing, but it's like she has been Wolverine lately, like taking that mantle, and I haven't read any of that, but it's like, just because that's more current, we gotta put Wolverine first. Like, no, she's X-23 first. Stop it. Like Logan is Wolverine. A lot of people think it's dumb that we made Wolverine a mantle and gave it to her. Like stop it. If you've got to have that in there, X-23 has to come first, and then you have the /. I didn't even know she was something called Talon. Like, I don't even know what that is. But having said all of that, with as much X-Men as there is, I am actually shocked that X-23 is on this list. Or as low as she is. Maybe she is a bigger deal than I realize, because that's maybe a place where I'm kind of out of touch. Because I know she's got, like, a fan base, and I know Marvel's been pushing her a lot lately, but then, like, I think, 15 years ago, they were also pushing her really hard, and so maybe she's a bigger deal than honestly I realize. I'm gonna check comments here and see what folks are saying. Austin, X-23 over Rocket? Yeah. No, that's crazy. But then X-23 over anything else we've seen so far, right? And it's important, once again, to throw out the disclaimer, again, in case you didn't watch the last video, that this wasn't Comic Book Resources picking these. This is a poll, or a poll. This is people putting in nominations, like their own lists. So that means that without any prompting, again, not a poll, not people, I keep using that word, but it's not exactly what it is. It isn't people selecting from a pre-made list. It's people going, I'm of my own accord going to put X-23 here, and I'm going to give her X, pardon the pun, number of points. X-23 got 272 points and 2 first-place votes. That feels like somehow a bizarre stack deck. I don't really understand how that happens. Makira says Twitter loves Laura. I didn't realize that. Robert, she is pretty popular for a lot of fans. Well, and popular enough that that's the direction that we went with Logan. So maybe I shouldn't be shocked that she's on this list, but I would have thought lower. But then I'm still maybe going to be surprised depending on what X-Men characters are not here. Okay, how long have I been rambling so far? Half an hour already. Okay, well, we're not doing too bad. Number 40. Not for me, anyway. Iceman. Okay, well, I can't really predict this list anymore, besides some of the stuff that has to be in the top 10. Iceman? So then I gotta go, like, with Fantastic Four. How many original X-Men end up being on this list? Like, Iceman's a cool character. I didn't think he was popular enough. I don't know. I'm just gonna be, again, kind of spinning my wheels at a broken record, but how old are some of these fans? How young are some of these fans? Yeah, crazy. And, like, has he gotten a resurgence in popularity in the last few years? Like, I know there was that, I know there was a little bit of controversy, am I remembering this right, about his being made homosexual. I wouldn't think he'd be on this list because of that, though. I don't know. Matthew Bay's Iceman, really? Yeah. Robert, Emma Frost for sure. Yeah, and when she's here, we'll just assume it's like, frosty sounding characters, like icy snow type characters. Robert Rogan Gambit will definitely be on the list. You'd think they'd have to be, but then there's so much other stuff besides just X-Men. Yeah, you know what? I'm already about as flabbergasted as I was by this point in the DC list. This is such an interesting exercise. What is our list going to look like? I can't wait to find out. I hope we can get enough people to participate. Number 39 is Ghost Rider. Am I surprised by that? Not really. There are because I've said this before, but Ghost Rider was gigantic in the 90s, and that character definitely has his fan base. There's also multiple Ghost Riders. So Johnny Blaze is the character that is selected for this spot in this list, but Ghost Rider has like different fans of different versions of that character too. So it's kind of like Flash, where like if you're a fan of one of them, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. If you're a fan of a Ghost Rider, you're probably just overall a Ghost Rider fan. You probably read other stuff with the different iterations, and so that character definitely has a base. It's not as big as it used to be, but again, if you've got some middle-aged and older comic readers participating in this, some of them are going to say Ghost Rider. 4 first place votes. Sure, I'm not shocked by that. Maybe a little higher than I would have thought, though. 38 is Colossus. Wow. Okay, so X-Men is going to dominate this. Or we're going to get to 25, and you're going to see hardly any X-Men after that, and then we're going to double back and go, how the hell was this character and this character and this character not there? Like, when Storm is not on this list, everybody's going to, throw their hands up and protest. 2 first-place votes. Is Colossus that popular? Like, again, all of the X-Men I've been surprised by so far, just in their placements, right? Beast, Iceman, Colossus, cool characters. Like, I like them. 2 of them are founding X-Men. Colossus is not. Colossus would be considered by most people kind of like a second-string X-Men character. There are certainly, like, less popular X-Men, but he's rarely been, like, a main team member, right? Like, there are runs, sure, and I'm sure there's a, like, tangential X book that I'm not thinking about that he's a member of. Like, was he ever, like, a X Factor character or X Force, or probably not X Force, but, any of those 50 other X teams. Robert, $2 super chat. Which villain will be higher, Thanos or Doctor Doom? It's a toss-up with all of the, like, comic readers in here that aren't just movie watchers, right? So I could see that going either way. Doctor Doom actually could beat out Thanos with the sample set we seem to be seeing here. But who knows? He also could be in the top 10. Thanos, I mean. Woodgrain Beanie, $2 super chat. Crazy that Beast made it with no first place votes. That's a good point. So that suggests that a lot of people probably, or enough people put him like second or third, like gave him the higher point values. Because again, I'm going to assume that they handled it something like your second place vote gets 49 points. And so you'd get a lot of points that way. All right, moving right along, folks. Woodgrain Beanie, Colossus was in Deadpool. That's a good point. How much does that have to do with this? It's really hard to say. If there are 1 or 2 really off the beaten path, like weird picks that people really only know because of movies, then I'm going to come back and assume that you're right about Colossus. Keeper of the U, good point I wouldn't have thought of. The Kitty Pryde romance helped Colossus's popularity, I guess. Yeah. Could Dazzler be on this list? Yeah, if you just have enough, like, 80s X-Men readers that took this. That's the thing, too, is, again, over DC, you're going to be skewed here, like, even over DC, by what teams people are most popular, are bigger fans of, which pockets. So, again, you had a lot of Green Lantern, you had a lot of Teen Titans, but here, X-Men, like you'd have one team that totally dominates, because you're going to run out of Teen Titans eventually. You can't run out of X-Men. We could do this exercise twice with just X-Men. Matthew Bass. I was calling Matthew Bass because I did that for years, and then I found out that his name was actually Matthew Bass, and I still have a hard time not saying Bass. Daddy's saying Bass. This list is proving to be much less predictable than the DC one. Yeah, no, it really is, and I didn't expect that. I thought this might go a little quicker, and we would just go, well, yeah, sure, of course, yep, sure, of course, because I think any of us could sit down and try to come up with not our favorite 50 or but what we think are the legit most popular for general audiences characters, and I think a lot of us would say some of the same things. 37 is Black Widow. Interesting that they didn't feel the need to put Natasha Romanoff's name there, because there are a couple of Black Widows. See, they've been really inconsistent about the mantle thing. I said this with DC. You've got to do it with every character that's ever had a different person in the suit, I think. But yeah, Black Widow's a little high just for what we've had so far, I feel like, but I would have expected her on this list, again, because of Avengers. I don't think there is a member of the original 6 from the 2012 movie that won't be here. I mean, we've already had Hawkeye. Hulk has to be here, Iron Man has to be here, Captain America has to be here. So they're all going to be there. Austin says, I think it makes sense that Marvel is harder to call. Yeah, and maybe I'm contradicting myself, Austin, because I said earlier, like, just with the sheer number of, like, more popular characters that Marvel seems to have over DC, and more well-known characters because of all the extra media that they dominated for, a long time. That makes sense, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if X-Men was going to dominate the way it is. So we've had some really weird picks already, and I did think it was going to be easier to call. I guess I was wrong about that. 36 is Magic. Okay, yeah. So they're just completely unpredictable. The women are taking over with this too. That happened with DC as well, and it's we could have a lot of theories about why that is. We've talked about that, but yeah, that's a character that I've liked okay in the things I've read her in, and I think she got real big maybe during Jason Aaron's run. And was she in the Morrison run? I can't even remember now, but yeah, I mean, she's a cool character. I know she goes. Does she go back to New Mutants? Is that where she starts? I think that's right. I forget. I totally could be wrong about that. I don't know my X-Men as well as I want to. I'm working on it. 35 is Vision. Okay, he was almost certainly going to be in here with his popularity from MCU, but he could have shown up, honestly, even in a 90s or 80s response. Like, I think people really liked that character. Like, in my lifetime, even going back that far. And that seems honestly about right. Like, placement-wise, to not be any higher than that. Austin, Magic is related to Colossus, so probably shared a lot of voters. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, good call. And Makura says Magic is also beloved on Twitter. See, I'm so out of touch. I wouldn't even know that. What would have been fun is if Austin and I, or anybody else that I've worked with on the channel, like, tried to guess at this and see which of us called more of the list. And I imagine just being more plugged into what's going on the internet, Austin would have. Like, I'm so weird as a YouTuber because I don't keep up super well with stuff on the internet. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm more like mentally healthy when I don't, and so I'm just not. And yeah, it's a time thing too. But like, I'm just not super plugged in. So I come on to do this, and I keep up just enough so that I have something to talk about on the Captain Logan show, and that's about it. So it's kind of amusing the things that, like, I would much rather learn that stuff this way, hanging out with you guys, than actually be plugged in and find out about all of, the real negative, I hate this word, but, like, toxic stuff. I'd rather learn about it this way. 34 is Namor, or as he was referred to in Wakanda Forever, Namor. That's pretty high, honestly. So yeah, like how many older people took this poll and or responded to this, and 4 first place votes. I mean, that's the only way Namor's going to get up that high, right? Is if he's got some first place votes. That is fascinating. A really important kind of early founding Marvel character. First Mutant, like you need him. I've never liked Namor. I think he's typically just kind of mean and spoiled and irritating. But I've read stuff where he's decently well written. I like how Hickman wrote that character. And I liked him. I mean, he's reinvented, but I liked him in Wakanda Forever. He's one of the only things that really stuck out to me with that movie. But anyway, so yeah, pretty high. That's surprising. 33 is The Punisher. So there's a time where that's really low for The Punisher. And it's interesting right now with the social climate that he's in the place he is. Because if this is in the 90s, that's top 10. And I know I'm talking a lot about the 90s, but like that decade probably informed a lot of the people that aren't, in their teens or 20s. Is there anybody in their teens taking this? I don't know. But in their 20s or 30s, tackling this, certainly, like early 20s. Punisher was like massive, and these days it's been really awkward where Marvel just can't decide like how violent they should allow him to be, and if he should even be around anymore, and they're just really worried about the way people are responding to guns and domestic terrorism and all of that kind of stuff, and so it's an awkward place we're at with the Punisher. So it's really interesting to see him on this list, but like middle of the road, like almost in the center. Austin says, Punisher that low breaks my heart a little. Yeah, but I'm not surprised by it. Right now, I think if I really thought about the Punisher, I would have expected him to be higher than that. But these days, not top 10 or even top 20. Braden says, in the 90s, Ghost Rider has a shot at top 20. Or even a little higher than that, potentially. Absolutely. 32 is Iron Fist. What? Okay, I'm really out of touch. Somebody explain that to me. Is Iron Fist beloved on Twitter? Because that certainly wasn't extra media. Iron Fist doesn't get on this list because of his beloved TV show. What is going on there? Were there just enough Bendis fans in here? Like, 10 for... Well, and I say that, like... I think Bendis used that character in some places. 10 first place votes. 10! This is wild. Who stacked the deck? With everybody in the comments is just like, what? Like, how does this happen? Think about who he beat out. Iron Fist in 2023 beat out Rocket Raccoon. Even X-23, if she's going to be on this list, I'm surprised Iron Fist beat. That's crazy. Am I right about this? Because I haven't been keeping up real hard with current the last few years in comics. But like, does he even always have his own book these days? I don't know. It's probably wrong of me to think that the majority of your characters in a top 50 that aren't villains would regularly have their own book. But I guess not. I guess some of it's what you grew up with and stuff. But yeah, Iron Fist beat out Ghost Rider. Fascinating. That's true, Austin. He is the sworn enemy of the Hand and defender of Kunlun. I'm glad you reminded me about that. Woodgrain Beanie, $2 super chat. I really like Iron Fist. Top 5 for me. Wow. And I mean, I don't have anything against Iron Fist. I've liked him fine and stuff when he's shown up. Crappy Netflix show notwithstanding. And that actor was the right choice because he's awesome in his one episode of Luke Cage when we did the Luke Cage and Iron Fist thing. But I'm shocked that he's here. Okay, 31 is Miss Marvel. There she is. She's that high. Wow, okay. Well, I guess I'm eating my hat a little bit, at least with this 1,000-person sample set. Because like I said earlier, I keep thinking that Marvel is pushing her really hard and trying to make us think that she's more popular than she is. But if you have enough comic readers that are really big fans of hers voting in this, I mean, you can say that about anybody, I guess. But, and then once again, I'm wondering, like, how is this skewing male versus female? I'm not saying there aren't any male Miss Marvel fans, but maybe it's also possible that you've got this weird crossover where you have, and I don't think this is probably true for Miss Marvel, as opposed to some of these other female characters, of course, because, she's a teen kid. She's obviously not really like a sex symbol character, but I think with some things, her notwithstanding, you maybe have some crossover where you've got some guys voting for girls just because they're attractive, and then if you have some female comic readers in this, they're voting for some of their favorite female characters. And then, obviously, you probably have some men that are voting for characters because they like them, and, like, they like their personalities, not just, what they look like. Claudio Moran has an interesting question, an interesting point. $2 Canadian. Is anyone confusing Iron Fist with Shang-Chi? Possibly. Although, Shang-Chi obviously did not get the giant popularity boost from that movie that Marvel would have liked him to have had. Like, that movie didn't fail at the box office, but it didn't do huge guns, and nobody bought the merchandise, and I don't think a lot of people are chomping at the bit for a sequel. $30, and I still need to read that additional Miss Marvel run. I've almost started that like 5 times. $30 is Miles Morales. Okay, again, what's the sample set? Like, I might have expected these days that character to be higher than that. Certainly he was going to be on the list, and I didn't think about that, or I didn't predict that, but, certainly. But you guys tell me what you think. Like, is 30 high or low with that? Number 29. But Miles Morales is, I should say, as popular as he is, almost certainly because of extra media stuff, especially now. Invisible Woman, like I'm gonna backtrack for a second. The Sony Spider-Man game helped a lot, and then the Spider-Verse movie really, really put him on the map. Like, he was already pretty popular, but I think there were a lot of people that liked the idea of that character that didn't necessarily know anything about him, for different reasons, of course, but kind of a little bit in a weird way like Deadpool, where there were people that just thought Deadpool was funny, just like the look of him, like the memes and things, but didn't really know anything about that character. I think you had that a little bit with Miles, where it was like, oh, cool, we've got we've got some new representation. He's a young kid again. As Spider-Man, he doesn't have all that baggage behind him that Peter Parker has for a long time, and I think a lot of people like the idea of that character and decided they were fans before they even saw anything and knew anything about him. Anyway, Invisible Woman is 29, so again I ask, is it going to be all the Fantastic Four? Because honestly, I thought of the 4, she would be the least likely to be here, and 2 first-place votes. Fascinating. Yeah, what iteration do you guys think, like, pushes Invisible Woman to the forefront? When I say iteration, like, less likely to be anything extra media and more comic stuff with that, but, like, is it, like, what run? Is it Hickman? Is it just going back to the beginning? Like, what exactly is it? Keeper of the U, how is Susan Storm more popular than Miles? I mean, overall, these days, she's not. Robert, she's one of the original Marvel heroes. But yes, that's true. But, I keep asking this question, like, how many of the people that were responding to this are my age or, like, 5 years younger or 5 years older? Because if you're in your 20s, like, if you're, a younger millennial or in the generation after that, and you're taking this, I wouldn't think you would necessarily be thinking about that as much, unless you're just such a hardcore Marvel fan that you've actually gone back and really done your homework and read a lot of the early stuff. And I'm not saying that no younger people do that, but I just wonder about it. 28. Robert, will She-Hulk be on here? I think anything's possible right now. Mr. Fantastic is right next to Invisible Woman. I thought he would be even higher on this list, given that we had Johnny Storm at all. But there he is at number 28. Robert, surely Moon Knight doesn't make this list at this point, right? I wouldn't think so. But Iron Fist is here, so anything is possible. Side-scrolling hero, I know these are people who voted online, but I work in public space and I see a ton of kids wearing Miles Morales shirts, backpacks, and costumes. He's gotten pretty big. Yes, yeah, definitely. And he is a whole generation Spider-Man at this point, however you might feel about that. But how much of that has to do with Spider-Verse? Because, that's one of the only, animated films in recent years that I feel like every kid went and saw and every kid seems to love, and it hits you younger and older, so that's a super accessible thing. And then the Sony games being as popular as they are, some of those same kids have to be playing that. Stone Gassman, $2 super chat. So I so want Howard the Duck to be in the top 10. Man, that's a duck, man. So does Austin, and Austin of course wants Man-Thing to be here, but at this point there's almost no chance at that. Well, again, anything's possible. I've really been surprised by some of what's on this, so that won't happen. But again, anything is possible. Number 27 is Moon Knight. We can't call this. There's no calling this at all. Keeper of the You, will the Maker be here? Yeah, is it possible that characters like that would be considered separate characters? Would we go Ultimate this person versus this other thing? I would think not. And that would be the one big character you would want to do that with, of course. But, yeah, Moon Knight did in fact make the list. Does the TV show have anything to do with that? Are there enough people that loved that, even though that's, a polarizing show? It's not hated universally in the way that some of the Disney Plus shows are, but or close to universally, because there's even some people that like She-Hulk, but by and large, people really didn't like that show. Although I've not met anybody that likes Secret Invasion, online or otherwise. But I've run into some people here and there I don't know what anybody's talking about. Moon Knight is wonderful. So yeah, does he rank at all before that show comes out, or is he just a lot lower on the list? He's still there, but he's 47, 48. You see how it's impossible to tell how much MCU is affecting this? Really hard to tell. And Austin says Moon Knight doesn't surprise him. Okay. People love his comics, and a lot of his comic fans hate the show. Well, maybe that's that Teen Titans thing, or, Legion to a lesser degree, where there's where he's got, his base that I don't hear from much, but is out there, and they're responding to this. Yeah, I really didn't expect that. 26 is Gambit, and somebody suggested Gambit and Rogue both have to be on this list. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised at his placement here, that he's almost at half, except, in the middle, except for some of the things that showed up here that I didn't expect to see at all. Austin says he also made the cut of Ultimate Alliance and has a big role in Web of Shadows. Well, yeah, and then Ultimate Avengers 2, they made all about Black... Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, not Moon Knight. See, I'm about to fall asleep here, I guess. For a second, I conflated Moon Knight and Black Panther. I don't know why I did that. That was weird. I guess you said Ultimate Alliance, and I was thinking maybe Black Panther was in that, and then he turned into Moon Knight. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, no, you know about earlier Moon Knight stuff and extra media than I do, I guess. 'Cause some of those, some of those games I just didn't play, or didn't play far enough. 25 is Silver Surfer, right at the halfway point. I knew he was going to be here somewhere. I was hoping he'd be a little higher, certainly, but there he is. Robert says Black Panther will be here somewhere and could be in the top 10, Robert. And it's possible, Robert, that he's that sleeper thing that takes the place of Hulk in your top 5. Yeah, that's entirely plausible. Number 24 is Emma Frost. That's super high. Well, I say that's super high. No, she's got her giant base. And Kitty Pryde has to be here now, right? Because there are those X-Men fans that just love her more than anything else on the planet. Let's count the X-Men characters that we've had so far. So you got Emma Frost, Gambit. Wow, it's a little while before you have another one. Magic, Colossus, Iceman, X-23, that's 6. Beast, that's 7. Okay, 7 so far. Did I miss any of them, guys? 7 X-Men characters so far. We got to go back down to 24. Austin, I'm kind of surprised Silver Surfer made it over the FF. Yeah, I'm just more surprised that all of the FFs seem to be here. So the thing, although he says that the Thing will be higher than Silver Surfer. There's no way at this point the Thing's not on the list. If Invisible Woman's there, he has to be. And he also kind of has his own fan base. Like, he had a lot of books outside of FF, or at least like stories. You had like 2-in-1 starring the Thing. I think that was that book. So I think arguably he has more solo stuff than anybody else in Fantastic Four. Am I right about that? So yeah, he's going to have to be higher than Silver Surfer. I feel like Silver Surfer is, for a period at least, was kind of bigger than the Fantastic Four combined. He was one of those characters that kind of like spins out and then is a bigger deal. So I don't know, Austin, like when I was growing up, Silver Surfer seemed much, much bigger than the Fantastic Four, in comics. And I'm wondering, how much of this is just guys my age voting for Silver Surfer. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, if I'm making a list, not that I'm indicative of everybody of, my age that's a comic fan, but if I'm making a list, Silver Surfer makes it on it. Of the top 50, and I don't know actually if any of the Fantastic Four make it, and I wonder how many people are like me with that. 23 is Black Panther. Wow, that's really low for how much of a cultural touchstone that movie was. Like how huge he's gotten in the culture, and again. I feel I'm going to be boring how many times I'm saying this, but how much of it is extra media and how much of it is just what people really liked in comics? Well, Miles Morales doesn't get there without the cultural phenomenon that character has been. So where does Black Panther rank on this list before that movie comes out is the question, because that is honestly a lot lower than I expected. I thought there was a chance he could be in the top 10 or the top 5. Yeah, that's crazy. And once again, we all know you're talking about T'Challa, but you probably should write that next to that. Robert, could Luke Cage be higher? A top 50 list of Marvel characters that includes Iron Fist and not Luke Cage does not compute in my brain. Also, we have the same thing we did with DC, but even worse so far, where we have almost no villains on this list. We've had a couple of anti-heroes, and we've had Loki, and that's it. Keeper of the U, is Shuri going to be higher? There's no way at this point Shuri's on this list. I wouldn't think, but again, I guess anything's possible. 22 is She-Hulk. She made it, and much, much, much higher than I would have thought. Earlier, somebody was, I forget who, was wondering if she would even be on this list, and she's 22, and beat Black Panther. So, yeah, this is all very, very weird, right? And again, it's just, whoever is your most popular character is going to get a bunch of points. So, well, and I say that, but She-Hulk beat out Black Panther with only 2 first-place votes. Black Panther had 5 first-place votes. And that means that enough people put She-Hulk high enough on their list that wasn't number 1 to get those points. to go over Black Panther. That's crazy. Braden Atkinson says not surprised. Not surprised about who? Just She-Hulk being that high? Or Black Panther not being as high as I expected? But you can't say I'm out of touch with that. Like, Black Panther is still, like, pretty culturally relevant, right? I mean, that sequel wasn't loved or anything. And maybe we've gotten far enough away from the movie that it's not as big of a deal to some people as it was. Like, they're not on the same high they were. But I still would think enough people, would remember that would still matter to them just that moment. Really interesting. 21. Austin says Jessica Jones would be cool. Is there any chance of her being here now that we're about to get into the top 20? Like over some of the characters we've had so far? But it's so female-centric that, yeah, it is plausible. This top 20 is going to be interesting. 21 is Deadpool. And I might have expected that to be higher. In fact, I did expect that to be higher. I thought he'd be in the top 15. And he's not even in the top 20. Yeah. Comic fans that don't care about what the general populace is into are really skewing this list, and that's fascinating. And some of that's making me happy. And some of it's like, what is happening? I don't know. There's this, like, we always talk about how like politically, socially divided the country is, and like the fan bases have the exact same thing. Like, you've got like old school traditional comic fans fighting movie lovers right now, and it's very interesting. Austin, thank God Deadpool is that low. Dan's Den, Deadpool is disappointed Deadpool isn't higher. Robert Blackcat, I could see making the list just for that. Yeah, considering all the sexy hot chicks that we've had so far. Number 20 is Captain Marvel. That's crazy high. And should I be eating my words, guys, or is this just not indicative of, like, generally how popular these characters are? Because that was another example of a character I said earlier, Marvel pushes on us as being more popular than she is. But out of these 1,000 people, 14 put her first place. That's really interesting. Yeah, I want to see the breakdown. I want to see the ages. I want to see the genders. All right, number 19 is Rogue. She had to be on this list. That's pretty high. Like, 4 X-Men characters, she's way up there. But that means that Kitty Pryde could be in the top 10 at this point, because there's no way she's not on this list. Robert says that's insane. That Captain Marvel's that high? Yeah, it is. Plush DX says she is sexualized. Do you mean Captain Marvel? Or... yeah, we're talking about enough women. I'm not sure who he's referring to when he says that. Robert, Carol Danvers was pretty popular as Miss Marvel for a bit, but that's still crazy high. But I don't know that has anything to do with this. Or maybe you could have some crossover with that. This split where there's people that voted for her because they remembered reading her and loving her before she was Captain Marvel, and then the people that really have latched on to the Captain Marvel version. Makura, Kelly Sue DeConnick's run on Captain Marvel is pretty popular. Is it? I wasn't sure how popular. And this is not me dogging on that character. Don't get me wrong, I don't love that movie, but I've talked about this before, but I really liked Ultimate Squared, which is confusing because it's post the destruction of the Ultimate Universe, and it's not actually an Ultimates book, but it's a new team called the Ultimates that's like this cool... super science think tank, and she's the head of it. She's really good in that book. That's the book that gave us Galactus the Lifebringer, the orange Galactus. Okay, we're just at an hour here. Not doing too bad. This will probably be about the length of the last one. 18 is Doctor Strange. Austin, are you happy about that or not? Austin's going to say, nah, he should have been top 10. But at least he's in the top 20. That's good. And that's a character that I think has definitely gotten a lot more popular because of the movies, but I would also think that he would have probably made this list pre-Cumberbatch, but probably just wouldn't have been quite this high. But it is nice to see him there and in the top half. 17 is Nightcrawler. Yeah, it's so X-Men heavy, and I know Nightcrawler's got his big fan base, but that is higher than I would have expected for that character. But it doesn't surprise me he's here, like Colossus did. Keeper of the Youth says Rogue battling Carol Danvers again. That's funny. Austin says Doctor Strange will be higher for me, but I think that's respectable for this kind of voting list. Yeah, because what you got to keep in mind with something like this is, like, I like Doctor Strange, and I respect that character, but he's not one of my favorites because I'm not a big, like, occult and magic and fantasy guy. So some of it, like, boils down to the genres that you're into, because mainstream comics cross so many different genres. So if you're a gritty crime drama guy, then Deadpool, Daredevil, Batman, maybe even Moon Knight, these are characters that are more likely to be higher. And if you're a big occult guy, then you're probably a bigger Doctor Strange guy. If you're a big cosmic person, Silver Surfer or the Fantastic Four, characters like that, Nova. I wondered if there was a chance he'd be at the bottom. He's not going to be here now. Dan Stan said, just like the DC list, not a lot of villains. Yeah, I made that point, and so far, hardly any. We've had Loki. That's pretty much it. So if we're going to get any big villains, it's going to be now in the top 10. Like, we were talking earlier about, debating who would be higher. I think Robert brought that up, Thanos or Doctor Doom. At this point, is it plausible one of them isn't even here? It's so difficult, to be fair, to pick just 50 and not put your favorite superheroes in there above the villains when you only get to pick from 50. This probably would be a more indicative list, to be fair, of overall popularity if it was 100 DC characters and 100 Marvel characters instead of just doing 50 and 50. 16 is the Clint Barton Hawkeye, which is maybe a little higher than I would have expected, actually, considering how popular Kate is. That's got to be movies, right? And I'm not saying that Hawkeye wasn't well-liked in comics, but I never heard about Hawkeye growing up. Like, that was a character I was only aware existed because I looked enough into, like, background stuff, reading, encyclopedias and things about early Marvel. He never showed up in anything I read or watched, really. Austin says, I think we will see Magneto, Green Goblin, Doctor Doom, and Thanos. Even Green Goblin is dicey at this point. Like, I would have thought for sure Doc Ock, and now probably not. Like, of the remaining Spider-Man villains, since we've had, I said remaining, I mean of the Spider-Man villains, because we haven't had any besides Venom, you're right, he's probably the one, but I think it's even possible he's not here at this point. Robert, the problem with Marvel for a list like this is they're primarily popular for team books outside of Spider-Man. Yeah, I suggested that earlier as well. Stone Gassman, Dr. Doom is like... Oh, Josh Trank said this. He's quoting. He says, Dr. Doom is like the greatest character to ever come out of a comic book page. He's legendary. It's great. Keeper of the Youth said Venom has to be here. Yeah, he was. He was 50. He was the very bottom of the list. Side-scrolling hero. Yeah, I thought I'd see Magneto by now. No, I thought Magneto would be top 10. Well, is Professor X on this list? I don't know. We're going to find out. Here we go. 15 is Jean Grey. Female X-Men. Yep. And another founding member. How many of those have we had so far? So we had Iceman, we had Beast. So with as X-Men centric as this is, and with the big Cyclops base there is, Cyclops has to be on this list. But of the characters that I'm thinking have to be in the top 10, I think I've got more than 10 now in my head. Somebody's not on this list at all that I feel like ought to be here. Brayden Atkins says not surprised. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, if you're talking about Jean Grey, I don't know that I am either. I'm more surprised about who we've not seen yet. Robert says kind of shocked Jean is that high. Some of that too is just, Marvel characters and X-Men characters that are in our face a lot. You know, like when people think X-Men. Like, tell me if you guys agree with this. The top two things that come to mind when most people think of X-Men is probably Wolverine and just everything that comes along with that, Weapon X, whatever. But Wolverine as a character and the Phoenix Saga. Some of that's just because we can't get away from it in extra media. Like, I don't even think, you know, you could say Days of Future Past as an idea or a thing people remember and think about is above the Phoenix Saga. 14 is Scarlet Witch. Wow, that's high. I mean, like, yes, she's really liked. Maybe not as much now because a lot of people didn't like Doctor Strange 2. No, I really liked that movie. But she got more popular because of the movies. But comic fans also really liked her. And, you know, she's got some really major stuff in the 2000s, especially. So, yeah, but that's a lot higher than I would have expected. And I guess I should have thought I would have seen her by now. There's just so many different characters to think about. She hadn't come up in my brain yet. But, yeah, it's crazy. Austin, take out Thor and put in Daredevil. That's my locked-in top 10 guess. Okay, here's his guess. He said the top 10 will be Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, Magneto, Wolverine, Cyclops. Yeah, I'm with you on Cyclops. Thor, Thanos, and Hulk. And then he said take out Thor and put in Daredevil. So you think Thor will be like 11 or 12? I don't know, but then you got that Hemsworth base, man. You got all those people that thought Ragnarok was the best thing that ever happened to us. Like how many of those folks are voting in this? Well, I'm stalling. 13 is Kate Pryde. Kind of weird that they wrote it like that. That's Kitty Pryde we're talking about, right? Kate Pryde. Okay. Is she calling herself Kate more now? What are we doing with the way we're right? And then you're not even gonna put Shadowcat next to that? Okay. Am I missing something? Is there some other character I'm not familiar with that's that popular that's named Kate Pryde and not Kitty Pryde? Like it's Kitty Pryde we're talking about, right? So that's about where I thought that would be. Maybe not. And again, I've said this with a lot of things. I thought could be top 10, but I knew it was going to be at least in the top 20. So yeah, there she is. Robert, will the Thing not be here? There's no way the Thing is not on this list. I think the most shocking thing. Tell me if you agree with me with this, guys. And like, I didn't invite Austin to this, but I keep talking to him directly. Austin, are you with me? That is pretty nuts. Because you said, Austin, that you wouldn't have expected the Silver Surfer to be over the Fantastic Four. And I wasn't really all that surprised by that. But is it not nuts if the other three Fantastic Four are here and the Thing is not? Yeah, that would be absolutely wild. Oh, people are saying Hemsworth is great in Furiosa. I've not seen that yet. I might watch it when it comes out in streaming. I can't even say video anymore. Like, now that's outdated vernacular. Number 12 is Cyclops. There he is. So we were wrong about that, Austin. We both thought it would be top 10. So who gets that other spot in your top 10 if you're right about everybody else? Thor does, right? So now Thor and Daredevil could both be in the top 10. I knew he was big enough with the X-Men crowd, especially, and I think there are people that even kind of overcompensate. Maybe that's not fair to anybody. Like, you know, you like what you like, and I don't not like Cyclops, but I've never been, you know, like the big obsessive Cyclops fan that a lot of people are. I think there's people that are maybe even bigger fans of that character, pushing back against the way he's been shafted in things. Hello, Connor. How you doing, man? He says, was not expecting to stream tonight. Yeah, I'm trying to... Now that I'm back from a break from vacation, I'm going to try to do more kind of unplanned off-the-cuff streams like this, if I can. And I've got some fun ideas for more of these kinds of things. Number 11, and I'm also going to try to do more blind commentary stuff, solo and with the co-hosts that want to be here. But number 11, I don't know what that sound was. Magneto. Okay, well, now our top 10 is real messed up. So there he is. He had to be here. I thought, finally a straight-up villain. Well, even Magneto, it's hard to call a straight up villain anymore. He waffles both sides so often. I'm not like big into this, so when I bring this up, I don't want some of you fans of the things I'm about to mention to think like I'm big into this and I'll know what you're talking about if you mention anything. But you ever feel like when you're talking about superhero characters, we're talking about comics, that it's sort of like talking about wrestling, you know? When you're talking about like who the good guys are and the bad guys and who the bad guys are, and like when they flip flop, when they like jump back and forth to different sides. And, you know, you talk about it like they make the choices they're making and like it's not all planned out ahead of time by writers. I don't know. I just had that stray thought. Number 10 is the thing. There he is. Had to be. Now, I didn't think he was going to be in the top 10. That's crazy. 24 first place votes. Again, he's had a lot of solo stuff. He's got his own fan base all to himself. Vince is a giant Thing fan. Like I know guys that love that character more than anything else. I say more than anything else. I don't know that Vince likes the Thing more than he likes the Punisher, but he's way up there. So yeah, he had to be here, but was not going to be that high. Austin said it is possible we don't have Thanos in the top 10 and get the Thing. I think that's probably what's happened here. Maybe Thanos doesn't show up at all, given how few villains we're getting. Robert, that's very surprising. Yeah, like I don't know that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know that it's surprising that Thing is in the top 20. It is surprising that he's as high as he is. And all four of the Fantastic Four made it here. Which has me questioning more like what people were voting than how popular those characters really are in the larger culture, certainly. Number 9 is Storm. Okay, so far, Austin, neither of us called this top 10. I thought there was a good chance she wasn't even here. But, again, repeating myself, so female-centric. It seems like every really big female X-Man made it on this list. Dazzler's not here, but you could say, well, she's not that popular anymore. Yeah, but there's a couple of things that seem to be here, maybe more because of their popularity in the 80s than at any other point. Austin says, I think there's actually a mistake and they meant Man-Thing. You know what? You are free to be in that kind of denial, Austin, to have your own headcanon. That's totally fine. Nobody's going to stop you. Stone Gas Man, Storm. Yeah, I mean, I like Storm, but 9? I think some people didn't get the memo and thought this was just an X-Men list, is what I'm starting to think. And Dazzler going to sneak her way to the top. Yeah, Dazzler will be number 3. Okay. There's no way number 8 isn't something that was on Austin's list. And there is still... Is there still a chance? I can't remember exactly what he said now. It's still possible, right, that Robert's 5 could be the top 5. Because I don't think we've seen any of those characters yet. And yeah, Black Panther was way earlier than we thought. Didn't even crack the top 20. So he's not in the top 10 now. But yeah, Austin said Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, Magneto, who we've had already, Wolverine, Cyclops, who we've had already, Thor, Thanos, and Hulk. So Hulk now has to be in the top 10. I thought that there was a chance that he would make it that high. He has to be on this list now, right? I can't remember what I said before. Did I say it's possible? No, it's not possible he's not on the list. I just thought he could be a little lower, maybe. Number 8. If I said that earlier, I'm stupid. Because there's no way Hulk's not on this list. Number 8 is Iron Man. Okay, I'm just going to give everybody a moment to wait for their heads to stop exploding. Because then you go, oh, well, then this is not as overall influenced by movies as we thought it might be. And I know DC wasn't either, but this, with Marvel especially, I would have expected it to be. 8. That's really low. In this day and age? Like now? That's late. Yeah, that's crazy. Late. That's low. Yeah. So Robert's wrong about his top 5 now because we've already had that. Austin, and it looks like we're not getting Ant-Man and Wasp, which is wild to me. Yeah, at least Ant-Man. Well, and like, you know, this group really likes the female superheroes. And the shocking lack of villains is even crazier with this Marvel list. Wood Green Beanie, I thought the lowest Iron Man would be his 3. Yeah. Austin, Iron Man's not as high as I expected, but also the movies haven't translated to a lot of comic Iron Man fans. That's fair, too, yeah. Well, I guess it's cool that, as odd and skewed as this list seems to be, that Comic Book Resources is living up to its name. And we're talking to actual comic people, for the most part. 7 is Hulk. Is that low? Is that high? What do you guys think? Did crack the top 10? That actually seems about right to me, depending on what your 6 are. Your top 6. Yeah, if Daredevil's not here now, we all revolt, and this whole thing was a waste of time. Like, it's just absolutely nuts and bonkers, if I almost swore, if Daredevil's not on this list. So, that just has to be, right? Daredevil being Hulk does not bother me. I know some people are gigantic fans of that character and think that he's more iconic than Daredevil. I don't have that. But, and I think in the larger zeitgeist outside of just comics, Daredevil is arguably more popular. Austin, Hulk would have been top 3 at one time. 7 sounds about right now. Yeah, I agree with you. Is he in the top 5 in the 90s? Probably. Because I think he was kind of big then too. He's one of the characters that got his own cartoon show. Even Daredevil didn't get his own show. Number 6 is Dr. Doom. So Dr. Doom did make it. With just how few villains there are here, there was the weird possibility that he wasn't there, but I came into this thinking he'd have to be. So we've only got 5 left. You could just not have Thanos here. That's entirely possible. And not having Galactus on your top 50 Marvel characters list is bonkers to me. It's BS. It's just absolute BS. I think our planet deserves to be eaten because we don't have Galactus on this list. Robert, it'll be shocking if Thanos isn't on the list at all. Yeah, with how, like, you know, a cultural big deal he was 5 years ago. He's even on my shirt. Like, you know, I really expected him to be here. Okay, so you gotta have Spider-Man. Surely Daredevil. It's so weird if Daredevil doesn't make this list. Who else? I'm actually struggling to remember everybody now because it's weird the characters that we have had already. Wolverine, there's 3. Okay, let's see what our 5 is. Number 5. This is getting really interesting. Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Daredevil, and Thor. Well, yeah. No, you're right, now that I'm thinking about it, right? Because we talked about Thor earlier, and we haven't had him at all yet. And Austin and I were in agreement that he might not even make the top 10, and he's going to have to be this high. Probably next, right? I guess we'll see. Robert said Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, Daredevil, and Thor. Has to be. 5 is Daredevil. Good. We don't have to revolt anymore. We don't have to carry picket signs. I don't know where we carry them, but just put them on our cars and drive around. People reading CBR, ridiculous. But we'd come up with something punchier than that, with like a pun of some kind. But yeah, like Daredevil's too huge. And interestingly, I think got a lot bigger in the 2000s. Like, Bendis helped that character a lot. Now, of course, like, Miller was a huge deal in the 80s, but I think in the 90s, he maybe fell off a little bit just because he didn't have a great run. And then he came back and he had, arguably, depending on who you talk to, like, back-to-back maybe, like, pretty good, substantial runs. And then, of course, the Netflix TV show really put him over the top more recently. Number 4, for, you know, more general audiences. Number 4 is Thor. I thought he'd be 5 after we had Dr. Doom. So, Spider-Man is 1. and Captain America is 2, no, 3, and Wolverine is 2, surely. Connor, comic book people in particular love Daredevil. Connor, we should just get t-shirts made that say comic book people, like we're comic book people. Stone Gas Man, $5 super chat. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you guys tonight. Regardless of the top 5, just remember Scarecrow, Gwen Stacy, Iron Man, Godzilla, and the director of The Dark Knight all won Oscars this year. Yeah, well, also keep in mind that everybody you've ever heard of practically has been in a comic book movie now. So as much fun and cute as it is to, like, go back and cast the character and be like, oh, Michael Keaton, won an Oscar or whatever. Batman won an Oscar. It's like, but everybody now has played one of these characters. It's really easy to play that game these days. Number 3. It's Captain America, right? Wolverine. Okay, Captain America beat out Wolverine. Unless he's not on the list. But that's not possible. So we're not going to have any real upsets with 1 and 2, right? Like, it's Spider-Man and Captain America, like 1 and 2. There's really no way around that. But Wolverine was going to be in the top 3. So that's not all that surprising. Captain America beating out Wolverine, I'm maybe a little bit surprised by. Especially considering some of the big MCU characters that were lower than I thought they'd be. Robert, Cap could beat Wolverine at this point, but I'm still putting Wolverine at 2. Yeah, I would have 2, but it didn't work out that way. It was really surprising. Makura, I like Anna DeCenti's Daredevil run in the early 90s, but it wasn't as big as Bendis or Miller. I've never read that stuff. Austin, wow, Cap beating Wolverine is maybe the most shocking thing on the list for me. Yeah, me too. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how it even happens. It's really interesting. And again, is it because of older voters? Is it because there's just a skewed number of MCU fans that really love Captain America over anybody else? But then that's weird with Iron Man being as low as he is in the top 10. Like, that would kind of suggest that the movies don't have all that much to do with it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But 2 is Captain America, of course, and specifically Steve Rogers. Maybe they only did that with characters that you had 2 of with the same mantle. I might be wrong about that. I have to go back and look. No, that is shocking. I didn't think we'd have an upset in the top 3, but that's actually really kind of surprising. And number 1, let's act like this is going to be a big giant shock. Are you guys ready? Here we go. I want to make everybody wait for no reason. Oh, look, it's Spider-Man, specifically the Peter Parker version, 202 out of 1,000. First place votes. But Captain America made, I just want to point this out, second place with 81 first place votes. And Spider-Man had 202 first place votes. So that's what really skews this whole thing, is there weren't even relatively that many people that put Captain America at number 1 versus Spider-Man or Wolverine. It's just, they had him high enough, he got a lot of points. So how many people put Captain America at 2nd? And that's why he got 2nd overall. Austin says, 1 is Man-Thing and Dazzler in a shocking time. Yeah, I almost said that was wishful thinking, but are you even a Dazzler guy? Do you know anything about Dazzler besides her power and that she sings? Yeah, guys, no Thanos. No, that's crazy at all. He just didn't make the list. And again, I'm sore about Galactus, but I'm not all that surprised just with how many things you could put here. Yeah. Well, this whole thing has been fascinating. And I'm excited to do it with you guys. Like I said, I'm going to work out the details, and in the next couple of days, I will post. So look for it in the community tab, and I'll mention it in streams this week, too. I won't put out its own video about it, I don't think, but I will announce it in as many places as I can, and everybody help me out. Everybody participate with this. Let's try to get at least 100 responses. Let's see if we can get a 10th of what Comic Book Resources did, so we can, feel like half relevant or something, and get our list of And we'll do it just like they did, even though I don't love the way they did it, but I want to do it just like they did and see how ours compares to theirs. So we're going to... You guys start thinking about it. Don't send it to me yet because I haven't decided where I'm going to have you send it. But everybody start thinking about your 50 favorite, and it's totally subjective. Don't think about the popularity of it. Don't think about anything remotely, objective with it. Just these are the 50, for whatever reason, DC characters, and then the 50 Marvel characters I love the most, ranked from 50 to 1, least favorite to most favorite. Start working on those lists, and I'll let you know where to send it in the next couple of days. And then when I get enough, I'll have a due date for it. I'll give you guys like a week to put it together. And then when I have enough, if I don't get enough in the first place, I'll probably call for it again. And then when I get enough, I'll come back and do another video like this, and I will reveal yours in the same format. So I won't look at it until I get them all, and we probably won't have to split it into 2 streams. I'll probably go a little faster than I did with this. And we'll do all of it in an hour, hour and a half. But I think that'll be a lot of fun. And I'm going to participate, too. I'll put mine in, help stack the deck a little bit. I'm going to give Galactus so many points, there's no way he doesn't make the list. I'm just looking to see... Day Ghost, maybe ask people for their top 10 to 20 just to get more characters in there. Let's see, Braden Atkinson, do I have to fill 50? Well, I was assuming that... I'll try to figure out how they did it. I was assuming that they had everybody send in actually 50, and then that's how they did the points. Maybe not. Maybe you do just ask for, half that or less. And then you end up with, obviously, enough responses that you would still have 50. I was thinking you'd actually fill out 50. This is why I'm not actually announcing how we're doing it yet, because I've got to work it out. But we are definitely going to do this, and I'm happy to. Oh, that's a good point. Austin says if you want, and I appreciate that, man. I can take all the emails and put it in a list so that you can see it fully blind. Yeah, that's a good call, because I would need somebody else to do it for me. I'll work all this out, but I will take you up on that, Austin. Thanks a bunch for your help, man. Thanks. Austin says, oh, yeah, getting everyone to do 50 would probably be easiest. I'm positive that's how they did it, with as many points as things got. But I would need everybody to participate properly, to do it the right way. You'd have to write 50 for each. And hopefully everybody that participates does DC and Marvel. Does all of it. James Egan, Austin, you should join the stream. I may have Austin there for that. It just depends on when I do it. It'll be longer if we're both in here, certainly. But, well, and what would be weird about that, though, is he'll already know what it is. So, he's not going to be able to really, if he's in the stream, like, weigh in too much on stuff without giving things away. So, yeah, I will take you up, Austin, on helping me out with that. I don't know if we'll both do the stream together, but we'll figure it out. Connor, yes, Silver Surfer was on the list. He was 25. He was right in the center. Somebody asked a question I wanted to answer. What was it, real quick? Keeper of the U. I can't wait for someone to just send 50 versions of Spider-Man. Don't give anybody any bad ideas. Robert, now this is homework I like. That's great. No, Howard, that didn't make it. Robert, Cap, which popular characters are you most surprised weren't here? Yeah, I need to noodle it for a minute, because my mind is swirling with all these characters. It's so much X-Men. I really feel like somebody didn't get the memo and they just wrote 50 X-Men characters. Maybe multiple people. He was surprised not to see Luke Cage. Yeah. Iron Fist, but no Luke Cage? That's crazy. And incorrect, I think. I mean, Sweet Christmas, where was he? Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. Yeah, I'm surprised by that, too. Green Goblin, Black Cat, and Thanos. See, I'm hesitating because there are characters that I might have thought would be here, but there's so much that you can pick from, where I'm sitting here going, like, no Kingpin? Like that's the first one, where I would have thought he'd be at least, I don't know, 48, 49. I guess when you've got Venom at 50, you're not going to see Carnage. But it is a little odd not to have Carnage here, just because there are people that love him even more than Venom. And I think, at least in some comic circles, he's as big a deal as Venom is. Obviously, Thanos was kind of surprising. Is there anybody else that's really massive because of MCU that didn't crack this? Like, Rocket was the only Guardian here. I think X-Men was knocking all of that other stuff off. And then, what would be the Guardian of the Galaxy that you would most expect to make it here apart from Rocket? Like, just with, you know, the Chris Pratt of it all, like, probably Star-Lord. But even Drax, even Groot, like, not really any of them. Yeah, it actually is surprising to me. I actually came into this expecting to see at least 2 Guardians, and I didn't think we'd get all 4 of the Fantastic Four. So yeah, that's fascinating. Any other Spider-Man characters that it's kind of surprising didn't make it here? With some of what we saw with DC, I agreed with whoever said Black Cat would probably be there. I thought we would maybe see that. No Professor X? Yeah, I wondered about that. When we were talking about how Magneto hadn't popped up yet when we got to, I don't know, 15 or so. I was like, wait, is Professor X going to make this list? Yeah. You know, even some X-Men end up getting shafted with as much X-Men as was there. The thing that surprised me the most, I think, was Colossus. No, Iceman maybe even more than Colossus. But, well, I shouldn't say that, though, because Iceman you can see the argument for with founding member. Did all the founding X-Men make it? No, because Angel's not there. Stone Gasman, no Doc Ock, LOL. Well, and Austin was expecting Green Goblin. I mean, if you're only going to have 2 villains, which is basically what you had, right? With the exception of Magneto. Okay, so you had 3 with Magneto. But if you're only going to have 2 non-X-Men villains, because like Emma Frost also goes back and forth. Forget X-Men for a minute. If you're only going to have 2 other villains, Dr. Doom and Venom, okay. Yeah, kind of crazy not to see Green Goblin. Yeah, I suppose I started really wondering about that when we weren't getting any other villains. Austin Angel is no one's favorite X-Men. No, I didn't honestly expect to see him there, but Keeper of the U, no Bishop or Cable or Apocalypse. Yeah, I feel like people were maybe avoiding mentioning villains so they could get their favorite heroes in there, maybe. I also wonder if there was a communication error where a lot of people maybe didn't get the memo. What do you guys think? This is probably what happened. And I will make sure that this doesn't happen with our list. I came into this expecting it to be just heroes. And then it turns out that anything goes. So is it possible that it wasn't made clear enough that you could pick anybody? And that a lot of people were just going, oh, favorite DC Marvel superheroes. Okay, 50-50 and 50. I wonder if some people that answered this didn't even realize you could say villains, and that's why we didn't see any of that. Brain Atkinson surprised no Psylocke. I mean, you know, with the girlish figure of it all, yeah. James Egan, Cap, would you ever review Grant Morrison New X-Men? I mean, if I could find the time, I'll review anything. I've reviewed a little bit of Morrison's X-Men. I think just the first trade or so. But if, you know, it's not like at the top of my list or anything, but I would be curious to read more of his stuff with X-Men. All right, well, guys, it's 1 in the morning. I got to go to bed, but I appreciate you. Thanks a lot for hanging out on stream. I'm going to be back real soon with another one. I'm going to do something tomorrow night, probably. I don't know for sure what yet. A couple things in my back pocket that I'm thinking about, but I gotta get some ducks in a row. So I'll announce tomorrow afternoon what I'm doing tomorrow night, and I will probably be back somewhere between 10 and 11 again. Tomorrow, I say again, it was 11:30 tonight, but somewhere between 10 and 11 Central Time tomorrow night. And then we're back to our usual Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. I'm going to do some other things on off days. Tuesday night, probably nothing, because I'm shooting the movie, and we've been going till midnight, 1 o'clock on that. Speaking of, I got to start memorizing some dialogue. Thanks for watching, guys. Keeper of the U, no gold balls. Yeah, that's not right. Wait, what the heck happened to Gold Balls? And Wood Green, I love that guy. Wood Green Beanie, no Big Wheel. Yeah, seriously. You know, that's not, no Stilt Man? What are you doing? So, Gasman, thanks again. This was a lot of fun, and looking forward to my next request. Oh, I was going to mention to you, Stone Gasman, I think your next request, we've got a big backlog. I think you're in, like, 8 or 9. I'll try to remember to post a list of what I've got right now. Make sure I'm not missing anybody on Patreon. And quick plug for Patreon, if you want to get on the request tier, again, I've got a backlog right now, but if you want to make me review something, and Austin too, like Grant Morrison X-Men, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution. The $15 tier makes that possible. You only have to stay on that and let your credit card get charged 1 month, and no matter when I do it, it will happen. You don't have to stay there. I appreciate everybody that does stay at that tier. You guys are amazing. That's super nice of you, but people do not have to do that. And if you want to help us out on Superhero Rewind, picking for the Superhero Commentary Project, picking movies for commentary and review there, you can become part of the Superhero Rewind selection board. You can be a producer there, $10 tier, and you can also hang out with me and Austin and some other folks that are at that tier. We try to do it once a month. We don't always make that happen, but we're doing one this coming Saturday, so I wanted to throw that at you real quick as well. And something else that I was going to mention about all of that. Well, I'll bring it up sometime this week. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll be back again tomorrow night. I was Captain Logan. Have a great night. See you soon. Bye, folks.